6 months ago, I showed you the $4 fix that keeps any Silverado engine new forever. The response was overwhelming. Over 4,000 of you watched it. Hundreds asked the same question in the comments. Can you prove it on a dyno? So I did. I took my 2018 Silverado 5.3L to a professional chassis dynamometer before the treatment, documented every number, applied the $4 fix, waited 500 miles for the treatment to complete, then went back to the same dyno on the same day of the week at the same ambient temperature. The before number, 287 horsepower at the wheels. The after number, I am going to make you wait until minute 7 for that one. Because what happened between those two numbers, the science, the measurements, and the thing the dyno operator said when he saw the result, is the part that makes this video worth watching from start to finish. Stay with me. Let me be honest about why I finally did this. I have been applying MOS2 treatment to my Silverado for 3 treatment cycles. I have documented cold start noise improvements. I have documented oil consumption reductions. I have documented fuel economy gains. But every measurement I made was indirect. Cold start noise is a proxy for boundary lubrication effectiveness. Oil consumption is a proxy for ring seal quality. Fuel economy is a proxy for overall engine efficiency. None of those measurements directly told me what I most wanted to know. Is this compound actually reducing friction inside my engine? And if it is, by how much? And does that friction reduction show up as real horsepower at the wheels where it actually matters? A chassis dynamometer answers all 3 questions at once. It measures actual power output at the driven wheels, after accounting for all internal friction losses. Less friction means more power reaches the wheels from the same combustion event. If MOS2 is genuinely reducing boundary lubrication friction by the 60 to 70% that independent tribology studies claim, that friction reduction should show up as measurable horsepower gain on the dyno. If it does not show up, I needed to know that too. I went to the dyno to get the honest answer, whatever that answer turned out to be. Here is what the engineering literature says should happen when MOS2 bonds to engine surfaces, and why it should be measurable on a dyno. Your 5.3L Ecotec 3 loses a significant percentage of its combustion energy to internal friction before that energy ever reaches the crankshaft. Friction between piston rings and cylinder walls. Friction at main and rod bearing journals. Friction at camshaft lobes and followers. Friction in the valve train. Engineering estimates for internal combustion engine mechanical efficiency, the percentage of combustion energy that reaches the crankshaft versus what is lost to friction, range from 75 to 85% for a well-maintained naturally aspirated V8. The remaining 15 to 25% is lost to heat generated by internal friction. MOS2 reduces friction specifically in the boundary lubrication zones, the zones where oil film fails and metal contacts metal, by 60 to 70% in those zones. The boundary lubrication zones account for approximately 15 to 20% of total engine friction losses. If MOS2 reduces boundary lubrication friction by 60% and boundary lubrication accounts for 15% of total friction, the expected total friction reduction is approximately 9% of total friction losses. 9% of total friction losses on an engine losing 20% of combustion energy to friction means approximately 1.8% of combustion energy is recovered at the crankshaft. On a factory-rated 355 horsepower 5.3L, 1.8% recovery equals approximately 6.4 horsepower. At the wheels, accounting for drivetrain losses of approximately 15% on a 4WD Silverado, that translates to approximately 5.4 additional wheel horsepower. That was the theoretical prediction going into the dyno test. 5 to 6 additional wheel horsepower from friction reduction alone. What actually happened was different. February 8th, my dyno appointment, 9 a.m. Outside temperature, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. I drove the Silverado 15 miles to the dyno facility to ensure full operating temperature before testing. 3 baseline pulls on the dyno with 10-minute cooldown periods between each pull to eliminate heat soak variability. The dyno operator, 22 years of experience testing everything from stock daily drivers to built race engines, ran the pulls on his Dynojet 224 XLC. Pull 1, 284 horsepower at the wheels. Pull 2, 288 horsepower at the wheels. Pull 3, 289 horsepower at the wheels. Average baseline, 287 horsepower at the wheels. This is consistent with what a stock 5.3L Ecotec 3 with 94,000 miles should produce. Factory rating is 355 horsepower at the crank. Subtract approximately 19% for drivetrain losses on a 4WD truck. Expected wheel horsepower of approximately 288. My engine is performing exactly at the expected level for its age and mileage. I photographed every pull. I have the dyno sheet. The baseline is documented and real. I drove home. I applied the $4 fix, 8 grams of technical-grade molybdenum disulfide powder mixed with 30 milliliters of fresh engine oil. Poured into the running engine through the oil filler cap. 20-minute idle, then normal driving for 500 miles. 500 miles takes time when you are being careful not to tow or push the engine hard during the break-in period. I drove it to work and back for 2 weeks. Same highway route, normal speeds, no towing, no hard acceleration, just normal daily use. During those 2 weeks, I documented what I could measure without a dyno. Cold start noise, day 1 after treatment, 74.8 dB. Day 7, 72.1 dB. Day 14 at 500 miles, 70.1 dB. Same progression I documented in previous videos. Fuel economy, average 20.2 miles per gallon over the 500-mile break-in period, versus my pre-treatment average of 18.6 miles per gallon. 1.6 mpg gain during break-in, consistent with previous treatment results. On day 16, 500 miles complete, I called the dyno facility and booked the return appointment. March 1st, 9 a.m., same facility, same dyno, same operator. Outside temperature 49 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees colder than the baseline test, which should slightly reduce power output in a normally aspirated engine since denser cold air produces marginally more power. The temperature difference slightly favors the aftertest, but the margin is small enough that any significant power gain is real. 3 pulls, 10-minute cooldown between each. Pull 1, 298 horsepower at the wheels. Pull 2, 301 horsepower at the wheels. Pull 3, 299 horsepower at the wheels. Average, 299.3 horsepower at the wheels versus 287 horsepower before treatment. 12.3 additional wheel horsepower. The dyno operator stopped the third pull and turned to look at me. His exact words, "What did you do to this truck?" Because that is not a normal result for a stock engine between 2 dyno sessions. 12.3 wheel horsepower from $4 of powder and 25 minutes on a 94,000-mile daily driver with no other changes between the 2 tests. My theoretical prediction going into the test was 5 to 6 additional wheel horsepower. The actual result was 12.3. Why is the real-world result more than double the theoretical prediction? 2 reasons. First, the theoretical calculation assumed factory specification boundary lubrication zones. My engine has 94,000 miles of accumulated surface wear. The boundary lubrication zones in a 94,000-mile engine are larger and more frequent than in a new engine because wear has increased surface roughness and reduced oil film thickness. MOS2 treatment of a high-mileage engine addresses a larger total friction area than the theory predicted for a factory-fresh engine. Second, the cold start friction reduction is not captured in a warm dyno pull, but the MOS2 layer's presence during warm running still provides benefit beyond the boundary lubrication zones because of the improved surface geometry from the crystalline fill of microscopic wear valleys. Smoother surfaces maintain oil film more consistently, reducing friction even when the oil film is nominally present. The combined effect of these 2 factors, larger effective friction area in a high-mileage engine plus improved surface geometry, produced a result approximately twice the theoretical minimum prediction. The engineering makes sense. The number is real. The dyno sheet confirms it. 12.3 wheel horsepower, $4. Let me show you what 12.3 additional horsepower is actually worth in the market that sells horsepower. The automotive performance aftermarket charges specific prices for specific horsepower gains on a 5.3L Ecotec 3. A cold air intake, $250 to $450 installed, gains 8 to 12 wheel horsepower on a stock 5.3L. A performance exhaust, $600 to $1,200 installed, gains 10 to 18 wheel horsepower depending on configuration. An ECM tune, $400 to $800, gains 15 to 25 wheel horsepower on a stock engine. These are the standard products that the performance aftermarket sells to Silverado owners who want more power. My $4 MOS2 treatment produced 12.3 wheel horsepower, comparable to a cold air intake at $250 to $450, from $4 of powder that costs less than a cup of coffee. And unlike a cold air intake or a performance exhaust, MOS2 treatment also reduces engine wear, reduces oil consumption, and improves fuel economy simultaneously. The cold air intake does not reduce your oil consumption. The performance exhaust does not improve your cold start boundary lubrication. The ECM tune does not extend your engine life. MOS2 does all four things at once for $4. But let me give you the number that matters most. At current gas prices, the 1.6 mpg fuel economy improvement from MOS2 treatment saves approximately $206 per year for an owner driving 15,000 miles per year, $206 per year in fuel savings, $4 one-time cost, payback period 7 days. After 7 days, every dollar of fuel savings is pure return on a $4 investment. Over 5 years, $1,030 in cumulative fuel savings from one $4 treatment. That is a 25,750% return on investment. And you also got 12.3 additional wheel horsepower for free. 287 horsepower before, 299 horsepower after, 12.3 wheel horsepower from $4 of molybdenum disulfide powder, and 25 minutes in my driveway. The dyno operator with 22 years of experience had never seen a stock engine gain that much power between 2 sessions with no mechanical changes. Now he knows why. If your Silverado has over 60,000 miles, the boundary lubrication wear that MOS2 addresses is already accumulating in your engine. The friction losses are already costing you horsepower and fuel economy. The $4 fix that recovers them is sitting on Amazon waiting for your order. Share this with every Silverado owner you know who has ever spent money on a cold air intake or a performance exhaust looking for more power, because the cheapest horsepower gains in history have been sitting in a $4 bag this entire time. Subscribe and hit the bell. Next day, I am doing the same dyno test on a Silverado that has never been treated at 120,000 miles to document exactly how much power a completely untreated high-mileage 5.3L has lost compared to factory specification. That number is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of Silverado owners. See you there.